I'm getting an error.
I'm getting we're live.
All right. Well, let me check again. Okay, now I'm getting a we're live. We are live with spring home maintenance tips, and the one big mistake we're seeing that sellers or would-be sellers are making these days. So we'll get to that one. But let's talk about some basic spring maintenance tips to start.
Yes.
Danielle?
So the weather's finally nice, maybe too nice. And we just want to put more things on your plate. Instead of
Yeah.
you enjoying the nice weather, we want
Yes.
you to feel like you should have a laundry list of things to do.
Or at least you feel guilty while you're out
That's
enjoying it.
me
Yeah.
all the time. But anyway, but truly these are hopefully tips that you don't necessarily always think about. Obviously you have to kind of clean up around, start mowing again, kind of look at the grounds and start to kind of pay attention to, dealing with weeding and all that stuff. But these are things that we hope are kind of more bigger picture, helping maintain the soundness of your home. So the first one that has been kind of near and dear to my heart the last couple of years, and I've been very diligent about this, is dryer vents. So not only
We just had ours done.
Okay, right. And you're supposed to get it cleaned about every 2 to 3 years and like really clean. So yes, you can do those kind of at home gadgets that kind of go in to the like depths of your dryer where the lint can start to build up. And I am one of those who make sure after every load I'm cleaning out the lint trap, but you're still surprised that even by doing that, how much still kind of falls down over time. That and depending on how large your vent is, because that's always something that is talked about when we do inspections for home purchases is, replacing the vent. And part of the reason that they usually suggest that is to have a new start, because these vents can get so built up. But it goes all the way, in my case, it's half my house. It goes up and out. It's not just my washer and dryer is not just against a wall and goes, 6 inches.
Yeah. And mine is very short. It's
Okay.
right next to the outside wall, which is why I'm okay with the fact that we have that kind of flexible
Yes.
vent that
Mhm.
inspectors don't like, and they'll usually flag. The reason for that is because those little accordion things are great for trapping things, but we have a very short amount of space, so it's easy for me to clean it out thoroughly, and then we even still have it professionally cleaned to make sure throughout the dryer is all done too. But if you have something similar to Danielle and you have the kind of venting I have, you're going to want to look into getting that replaced with a stable, non wrinkly.
Well, and they're thin, and so they're kind of easily punctured and whatnot. But
Yeah.
it's not only just the inside. So yes, all that buildup to tell you that all that buildup, it can cause fires. It is one of the leading causes for home fires. Because it starts to build up and your dryer gets hot. That's the point of your dryer, right? And so it can catch fire. Now, on the other hand, and again, something that because I'm on mine is a second floor unit, is birds. Birds get in on that that vent when it finally gets out to the outside. There's often issues with birds. And so if you're adding a buildup of lint and birds' nests that get, left over and just sit there over time and get drier and drier, and they're made of leaves and twigs and things like that, that is also basically kindling for a potential disaster. So we highly suggest that not only get your dryer vent cleaned out, but also, especially in the next coming weeks, as the bird's nests will be abandoned, making sure that your outside is clear as well. Usually you can do it yourself. I get a professional to do it. It doesn't cost very much for that. And then, sometimes you can have different types of barriers if you do find you're getting a lot of creatures that want to kind of burrow in there and get that out. But that's a huge fire hazard, and we want you to be protected. And that's not something that's normally in your head this time of year, but we wanted to bring that up. Also, AC checkups. Unfortunately, a lot of us already have had to put on our AC because we went from lows in the 20s to highs in the 90s over the last week. So it's,
and I don't know if you saw my friend Angie specifically mentioned she had an issue with this. So they went to turn on their air conditioning when it got hot and it didn't work. However, I will say that this year it's not really procrastinators' fault because it was too cold
to do
for them to do anything about it. So we know from home inspections that you cannot turn on central air conditioning if it's lower than 60 degrees outside?
Yeah, I think somewhere around
60 or 65. And so they can't test it before that. My father was just mentioning that they've scheduled the guys several times. They keep rescheduling because it was too cold. Then all of a sudden it got super hot. Everybody turned on their air conditioning and it didn't work. And now they're not available to schedule the regular maintenance. So it's something you want to try to get on a schedule as soon as it starts to warm up a little bit. This year was particularly difficult for doing that project, but.
Right. And so what they'll do is they'll come in and kind of do like a diagnostic test, making sure that all the fans work, that the pressure is right. Things seem to be going down. I guess the temperature would be going down at a good rate while they're there testing it. And another thing I wanted to bring up, just in addition to just getting the AC checked up on an annual basis, usually in the spring, right before you use it, is that there's often rebates available. So my particular HVAC company always sends out, they're always looking. So there are rebates available. If you need a name, give me a call. I'll let you know, or send me a message. I can give you some people. But ComEd also does offer them about every 3 years for certain models and things like that. So you might be able to get to that website, but there are some additional rebates that might be available to you as well. So you can, again, reach out to me and I can give you some names or give you a name or that I know that they do rebates or, kind of look around and see, ask your HVAC company if they're aware of any.
And recently they stopped selling the old style Freon. So if you have an older unit, you might want to look into when and whether you need to switch that out for a new one. You won't be able to get it recharged.
And that is part of the reason I was told last night when I was talking to my HVAC guy, and he was saying that ComEd kind of does that as see, your unit's getting a little older, your unit's getting,
right,
time for an upgrade. So it is that's second nature. But regardless, you really do want to make sure there's a tune-up. And while you're waiting, if you do have to run it because it's another 90-degree day and you can't get somebody in to make sure that it's all going well, you do want to kind of go to your units, make sure you get rid of any brush and things that might have fallen in there over the course of the winter, kind of weed around it if things have built up inside of it, just again to keep it nice and clean and kind of, away from debris away from it until you can get a professional in.
Yeah, that'll cause it to overheat too.
Absolutely. So another thing that this time of year is a good thing to do would be to check your gutters and downspouts. So there's a lot of reasons. I hate that chore. We barely do it, but it really does help for a few reasons. And I've seen a lot of it. First of all, and again, another thing I see often on inspection reports is getting the downspouts working well and up and away from your house, hopefully buried down, is to help your foundation. Because year after year after year of your downspouts and your gutters not working as they're supposed to, which is to bring water down and out away from your home, it can cause issues. It can cause issues in the roof. It can cause issues with the gutters starting to separate from the house, depending on the type of gutters you have. It can cause concrete damage around the house and to, again, your foundation. So letting it build up and water collects, and sometimes things get, like at one point, somehow we got a tennis ball up there. I don't know if it was from a neighbor or whatever, but that clogged the downspout, and that caused a lot of issues to my.
And then if you've got trees over your roof line that are dropping leaves, or this time of year, even flower petals can collect, and they can collect in your gutters, they can collect in your downspouts. Now that, and I'm going to segue this into what we were going to talk about, the one big mistake that so many homeowners make. This can be, gutter cleaning can be a DIY project. But if you are, not particularly agile and you're climbing a ladder 2 stories to get to your gutter, I can tell you that the medical bills from falling are going to be a lot bigger than hiring somebody else to do that. So be careful with some of these things. Danielle's dryer clean out is probably not on a, semi-annual or, every couple of years basis, a DIY project. A professional should do that. We see, and this is a big mistake that can cost you many, many thousands of dollars when you eventually go to sell your house. Don't DIY things that you don't know how to do. The standard from buyers is pretty high for having work done well. So if they're little projects and you feel you can handle it and handle it well, that's great. But don't decide that you're going to learn how to lay tile in your own bathroom. And then you're going to sell your house and there's mold behind the walls because you didn't do it right. Right. We were running into a lot of people who obviously felt that they could save some money doing projects themselves that they were really not up for. So put your ego away, take on things that you are actually well qualified for, and leave those things to professionals that ought to be left to the professionals, because that little bit of savings on the install is going to come back and cost you many thousands of dollars when you go to sell your house. And that might be just because people don't want to buy it because they see that nothing's square. Or it might be on inspection where they find out that all of the things that you did don't work.
Correct. So there was a couple more things I did want to add real quick. And again, easier, well, these could be a bit more DIY, is checking your outside faucets. So, winterizing the faucets, hopefully at the end of the spring or end of the summer and the fall time, you disengaged your hoses, maybe put some sort of protectant over it. But now is the time to look over your faucets. Do it slowly. Make sure that it hasn't seemed to shift. Sometimes those outside faucets can jet out, or sometimes they can kind of pull back in. And those are both signs of issues that might be going on with the pipes. So you'll want to check those out, kind of open it slowly, clean, do kind of a quick swipe of the downspout before to make sure that it kind of is clear for the water to come out, and just make sure that the pressure seems to be there correctly, and that it seems to be in all working order, because the last thing you want to do is put a hose up to it, turn it on, and be 100 feet away and not realizing that this water faucet has an issue. The spout is, not pushing out enough water because it's going in your basement or somewhere else, because something has happened to the line over the winter. And last, and kind of actually the easiest, would be updating. A little bit of paint. Check out around your doors. Check out around your windows. Now, some people have complete, over, the
wrapped
and stuff like that. But it is a very easy thing to do. You kind of scrape if things are chipping off or kind of starting to fade. You can quickly sand it and do a quick touch up. because over the years, letting it go, I mean, first of all, it looks nice and brand new and really helps. That's like one of those things I always tell people when they're about to sell their house, that while the agent is fiddling with the keys and the lockbox and all that other stuff, the buyers are standing around and looking at the porch.
And they are judging you.
They are. And they're noticing the condition of the door, conditions around the door, if there's windows right there. They're noticing if it looks faded, if it looks like it's been upkept. And
if Nicole is with us, she's got a story for this.
Oh, so
paint the front door, paint around it.
yes, because those are just things that they'll notice. And in addition, so that's even if you're not worried about selling anytime soon, it is something that over time, if deteriorated, it's a huge expense.
Yeah,
because
that little bit of missing paint around the bottom of the door is going to wick water up into the door frame and rot it from the inside out.
Absolutely. And it will be at a much bigger expense than you ever, than getting a can of paint. You can get a can of paint and use it year after year after year.
Yeah.
To touch up the trim.
And it doesn't even need to be perfect. It's, just, especially if you're not selling, slap some paint on there and just keep the water out.
Correct. And if it does start to look like it's damaged, probably want to get that portion fixed sooner than, again, it's starting to spread to the other portions of the windows or the doors that might, again, just become a much bigger issue in the end. So those are kind of the out of the box, and maybe not the AC, but just some out of the box thinking of things that you can kind of add to your to-do list over the next couple of weeks, just to make sure that your house is in, kind of stays in safe and, functioning order.
That's right. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
All right. Take care. Have a good one.
If you're an agent, we'll see you now on YouTube.